What's up, baseball world? Welcome along to another special Canada Day edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. I am joined today by Sheldon, Rob, and Cole, and I'm not going to continue any further because Cole is so angry. He thinks it's Saturday. Cole, take the floor.
The game started, and Rio's on the mound, and I'm feeling pretty good. Canada Day. Going up against Kikuchi, that was a little bit of a challenge, that's for sure. But then Semien started the game off with the leadoff home run, and I knew it was Thursday. And then the game went on. Chatwood stepped on the mound. He raised my blood pressure to Saturday, and then I got embarrassed on the live, knowing that it was Thursday, and the people in the chat were informing me that it was Thursday instead of Saturday. So my anger on the Jays game today only stems from Chatwood, and that is from being angry at the manager because he's bad at baseball, and that's ridiculous because this hasn't happened one time this year. He hasn't been the guy in the Jays bullpen this year. He has been a crap reliever for the majority of the year. He started strong when nobody could grip a bat in April when it was cold outside. And he thinks that he's this elite guy that can just get mad at his manager when he gets 2 strikeouts on balls 6 feet outside the plate that the hitter shouldn't even be swinging at after he's walked 2 guys and gave up 2 runs and has 2 runners on base. And the Jays are still kind of in this game with the offense they have. So he gets mad. He gets mad at Charlie, and that's my only issue. I don't have issue with bringing him out. I don't have an issue with him being crap because I knew he was crap. I have an issue with him being mad at Charlie. That is, you think you have the audacity to do that? You do not. You're bad at baseball, and honestly, I hope I get to wake up tomorrow morning to a notification on my phone that says Chatwood has been DFA'd because he's a dick.
Sheldon, how was your Canada Day?
Who was that question for?
Sheldon. I just said you.
Oh, it sounded like Cole, man. You got to cut it out.
No.
I kind of tend to agree with Cole, man. I was going pretty good with the Jays game until Chatwood came out, and I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And then I just kind of lost interest. And then I found out I was going to be on Blue Jay Center today, which I thought today was definitely a Thursday.
Hand up, my bad.
Which got me even more confused. Like, what? And then found out that, nope. So, that was been good. It's been pretty quiet. How's yours?
Not too bad. Like every Canada Day, starts off nice. You're off. Always a sunny day. I feel like there's never been a rainy Canada Day. It's a perfect summer day. You're cooking the burgers, and you know the game starts at 1 o'clock every single time. And the trend's kind of been games have been stinkers on Canada Day. This one, no exception. Really, one of the few games all season where from the first pitch on to the very end of the game, nothing really worked. They seemed like they were never really in it. Bit of a disappointing game overall, but I think, you look at it, 2 out of 3 from the Mariners. I thought we were in really good position to win at least one of these last 2 games. Last one last night was a bit of a gut punch, and this overall, nice day, crappy game.
8-13 on Canada Day since 2000.
Huh.
Yep. I feel like I've been to like half of those bad losses. I was at the one in, I want to say 17 when Chris Sale pitched and he gave up 1 run, I believe, and the Jays were down like 7-1 in the 3rd inning, and then that might have been the worst baseball game I ever watched live in person. I think at Canada Day, that's what comes up. that brutal game.
Like realistically, it's a weird one because obviously it's an early game. You're off. Yeah. Everyone thinks it's Thursday apart from Cole.
Yeah, you're not going to put that one down, bro.
But it's not. But what I'm trying to say is like it's a game where you would think that because it's Canada Day, everyone would be up for it. Like we saw the video that they put on the Blue Jays page with them all singing "Oh Canada" really badly. Like it's kind of fun. So you think that there's kind of something going there. It's like they were half asleep. Like, and I don't want to be disrespectful to them because they've played some good baseball over the last week or so. But for me, it's like you can't get, and maybe today was a bit different because they're not in Canada. And maybe that had an effect on the overall thing behind it. Like, but they're sportsmen, they get paid a hell of a lot of money. and you'd think that they could look past that and just go out there and do a job. Nobody really performed today. Maybe Simeon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much
maybe,
the only guy.
maybe Simeon. And like, I didn't think, like, I think you guys have hit it on the head already. Like, we weren't in it from the start, from the top of the first. But the time they take the lead, Ryu doesn't look like the Ryu that we've seen previous. And that's kind of where I want to start the first point today.
Yeah.
Like, because I've already said it behind the scenes while we were off air, but I've got a feeling that he was possibly using something that he's not allowed to use now, and maybe that's what's doing it. It may not be the case, but the timing's a little bit sus. We'll talk about Chatwood and his possibility of using something, not using something. Maybe he should use something. I don't know where that goes, but guys, what do you think? Because I think it's a little bit concerning. You asked it on the Insta story. Is it time to start worrying about him? I actually think that it is. It could just be age.
Yeah.
But something's not right.
I think it's absolutely fair. Anytime you have a guy who, let's face it, is 34 years old, he's had a very colorful injury history. That's all been well documented. It's not, I wouldn't say totally inconceivable to say that, maybe he's just gotten to the age where he's probably not an ace anymore in terms of being effectiveness. Obviously, it's a little bit overreaction. Think about where we were a month ago. We were all saying that he was the ace of the staff, myself included. But again, like I said, it could just very well be a rough stretch, because I typically think that his style of a pitcher, in terms of a lefty who's known for command, known for generating soft contact, those guys typically, they tend to age better, as opposed to, a gunslinger throws 99, just loses command. Matt Harvey style, like we've seen this season. So I'm saying that it could just be a rough stretch. That's what I'm hoping for. But at the same time, I am acknowledging that the age, the timing of this, like you mentioned, Jay, how right after the league banned the doctored baseball policy, he's been struggling as of late, not having his personal catcher, which I love pumping the Danny Jansen agenda, but I'm not sure I can necessarily blame that on that. I think like if someone told me that Hyunjin Ryu is just regressing as an overall pitcher, I'm gonna be honest. I hope it's not true, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. I will acknowledge that.
I'm going to start off by saying I kind of was worried before the season started about Ryu, and it looked like as the season went on, I was being proven wrong to an extent. And I was one of the people saying that he was the ace, yes, but I don't think this year I've ever been on the board of saying that he is an ace in the 30 major league teams. He's our number one guy, and he was our number one guy for sure. But yeah, at 34 years old, throwing from the left side of the mound, who doesn't have a lot of velocity, who does rely on pinpoint accuracy, if you miss by a bit in that style of pitching, you're missing by a lot, as Keegan Matheson said nicely today on Twitter. And I completely agree. I just thought that eventually people are going to catch up to you. They're going to make you find the strike zone. They're going to make you prove to them that you have your pinpoint command on the day. And if you don't, then they're going to run into a 90-mile-per-hour fastball, and it's not that hard to hit when they consistently see 95 plus from other guys in the league. Like, I just worried is not really the term I like to use. It would just be more like, I wouldn't be surprised that if by the end of the year, our focus for our number one guy has shifted to Robbie Ray. That's kind of where I'm sitting on it. Like, Rio, I think, is still a very solidified number two guy, and that's what he has been. He's never been a number one guy. And we are using him as a number one guy for the first time in his career. So I think that plays a factor as well. Plus, Spider Tack, that's just ludicrous. In fact, he had a rough start or two rough starts prior to the ban. So that is, first of all, factually incorrect, and then second of all,
let me stop you there, because my point, they started talking about it, and that's when it got highlighted, was roughly the same time. I know the ban came in afterwards, and all I was going to say on that front is that because he's that much older, is it likely that if he has been using a substance, he would have been using it for a hell of a lot longer a period of time? Therefore, it would take him probably longer to get to the adjustment of not using it. I'm not, and again, I'm not saying that he is. It's just the timing's very close.
So
also, too, like I think like I don't necessarily agree with the point that you said like he's never been an ace. The guy was a Cy Young finalist 2 years in a row, so I'm not sure that's completely accurate.
no. He's never been someone's ace. The Dodgers, he wasn't their number one guy. He wasn't their ace.
He was their best pitcher in 2019, though.
Yes, he put up ace numbers, but not as their number one guy, not as their lead inning reliever, not as their lead inning starter. That's what I'm saying, is that he is our number one guy, and he hasn't been used in that fashion in his career.
But what do you mean in that fashion? Like, isn't it still you're still going out there, still having a start? Like, what does it matter if you're the ace or if you're the second guy on the depth chart? All it matters is you're still going out there throwing the pitches. Like, this isn't like a basketball where you're not the starting point guard or you're not the starting whatever. Like the goal, the objective for a pitcher is the same regardless of where you are on the depth chart. So I don't think I think that's kind of making too much of these holistic designations as you're the ace, you're the number two guy.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that played a factor into why he's not good right now and why he's going through a rough patch, but I'm just saying that turning from a like number 3 or number 2 guy into a number 1 guy is going to get you more innings throughout the season. That's all I'm saying.
Do you think that maybe Cole? Do you think that maybe it's a pressure thing because like he's the number 1 guy? He has to go out there and perform every single time, kind of thing.
I don't think that that's the case, considering his experience in Korea. And in Korea, he definitely would have been the guy. In fact, probably been the guy in the whole entire league. But I do think that. So where my threshold argument comes, instead of the spider tack, I switch it to last year was 60 games. And we just got past that threshold, and that's when he just started getting bad. And he's 34 years old. So having a half a year last year that had its struggles besides just playing the game of baseball, plus being on the other half of 30, that I think is a natural regression. And I think something that the Jays fans shouldn't necessarily be surprised about.
And they made a big thing about him having this extra day off as well. And he hasn't really been able to do that, has he? Because we've had no rotation for part of a lot of the season already. So maybe that's kind of played a factor into it. Sheldon, you're very, very quiet. You're either watching something, eating something, or we're just boring you.
Enjoying the show.
I'm enjoying when these young guys talk. Anytime any of these young cats talk, I just sit back and listen because they have a different, obviously they have a different perspective. They have a different view on the game versus my view because, you know, I'm old enough to be their dad, man. Literally. Combined, they're both ages. They're not close to my age. That's basically what it boils down to.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right, aren't you? If you,
no, seriously,
they don't touch us. No,
they're. I think combined their age, you're like 40. Yeah, and we're 44. So there's a big generation gap between us and them. In terms of Hyunjin Ryu, like, you know, it's been talked about. You know, obviously he started to kind of hit the wall. That's what Cole's saying. Games, right? And just around that time, the Spider Tack controversy came out, and, you know, everything's kind of coinciding with Ryu's kind of downfall. It's kind of a hard word to say, but his regression, basically. And unfortunately, we can't just say as soon as someone hits 34, they fall off a cliff or they start to regress. Some guys don't. Some guys go longer. Some guys have a shorter careers. I think with Ryu, he was a starter since he was like 19 in Korea, and that's a lot of innings to put on a 19-year-old. And constantly through his time in MLB, granted he's got an injury history. We all know about it. Maybe this is regression. Maybe it's hit him a little bit harder than a few others, and now it's his opportunity to kind of adjust if he can. And I can see him doing it. But also we also got to factor in. I know no one wants. Well, I know Rob talked about it, but Danny Jansen. Maybe Ryu is just not comfortable throwing to McGuire and Adams. Maybe he really does need Jansen behind the plate. Maybe there is a bit of synergy between those two that allows Ryu to be a little bit more relaxed. That could be what it boils down to. And, you know, let's wait until we see when Danny comes back, when Danny Jansen comes back, and see what his first starts are.
It's going to be
And
the weekend, isn't it? By the sounds of things.
Could be.
Well, that's
And
what Charlie said that yesterday. I think I saw that.
Charlie says a lot of things, and I wait till it actually happens.
He says he expects one of them to be back. I cannot see it being. I know that it's been a debate. I don't think there's any debate about it. I think as far as Charlie is concerned, just like he has no problem with going to Chatwood, I think Danny Jansen is his guy. I think so too. I think that's the end of it.
There's.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see them carrying 3 catchers either. I don't see Kirk being on the roster unless they have some kind of crazy idea, which, it's a 26 player roster, so they can think about it. But I think it's going to be Danny Jansen. I think Danny's going to be the guy for Hyunjin Ryu, and I think probably for Steven Matz. Yeah. And then I think,
before we close, sorry, go ahead, Sheldon.
Oh no, and after that, the other 3 pitchers, I think it's going to be like a mix and match of who they're up against. That could be it. Where you may see Danny 3 times a week, or you might see him 2. That's what I think.
But before we close the book on Ryu, because I can kind of sense the topic kind of shifting tides here, I think it is important to recognize that he is a guy who, let's face it, he needs to be pampered through the season. He's a guy who he's 150 innings is probably the ceiling in terms of what you're going to get out of him. Anything more than that is a bonus, really. He's also a guy who he likes the 6th day off, the extra day of rest. He likes his personal catcher. Even in LA, I mean, didn't he have a personal catcher in LA, if I'm not mistaken? Exactly. Yep. So he's always been a guy who he needs the circumstances to be kind of in his favor. He's not much like a guy, no BS. He'll come no matter what time, what day, what weather, and he'll just throw gas. He's a guy who, like I said, needs to be kind of baby through the season. And I think hopefully, I'm hoping that if Danny Jansen can come back, that'll help him perform to what he was prior to this last month before Jansen got hurt. But at the same time, I will acknowledge that if you're an ace caliber pitcher, I mean, you should be able to be at least, a competent big league starter without your number 1 catcher. So I feel like it's fair to say that Danny Jansen being in the lineup does help him, but if that's the only thing that's keeping him from being an ace, how sustainable is this? That's I think that's important to point out.
My only the only thing I'll say about that is you'll see a lot of aces have their own personal catcher. Like Garrett Cole's got
Higashioka.
Higashioka, yeah.
So he's got. Yeah. But I can't say that, man. You guys say it for me. You guys are younger.
and we all remember R.A. Dickey's personal catcher, don't we?
Right. Josh Tolley. So
he was great.
Josh Tolley was a sleeve, man. But you know what?
I'll never forget that opening day where JP Arencibia caught Dickey for the first time, and that was just oh my god, pardon my language, a shit show on opening day. If you guys remember that one.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But a lot of these ace guys, they just want not so much they want a personal catch, they want someone they're comfortable with. And we've seen it in New York. Cole, like Sanchez cannot catch Cole. Like that's just like you said, it's so. So let's wait and see what Danny Jansen, what he brings when he comes back. And if Hyunjin Ryu continues to struggle, then I think we can definitely say that he's gone from being our ace to probably being a number 2 or number 3 star, which is not too bad. You got Ryu, Matz, Manoa. Hell, I'll even put Strickland in there, the way he's been pitching lately. So it's not really bad to be faltering to a number 2 or number 3 when you have those guys around.
Stripling started pitching well when I wrote that song. Yeah, just remember that. I was the influence behind.
Why don't you write a song for Chatwood? What are you waiting for? Are you just a one-hit wonder?
No, I did do a Chatwood one. It wasn't good.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
good.
we need to go back and do another one.
Nah, I think he's possibly done now. I kind of think where Cole's coming from, whether he gets DFA'd, probably not. But I got a feeling that I'm not sure. Like Charlie does come across like Mr. Nice Guy, but I don't think he'll take that. Not again. I think the first time it's like I let you off. But if I let you off again, then I'm just asking for everyone else to shout at me when they want to shout. And I just don't think he can set that example.
Nah, I think Charlie will probably. I mean, obviously, we don't know what was said. I mean, we could try and guess what was said. Chatwood barking, what he was barking. It's definitely he wanted to finish that inning. Who knows what Charlie had told him?
Which is funny because he's the only person on the planet that wanted him to finish that inning. No one else did.
Maybe Charlie said, "Hey, you know what? Just it's not your day, man." And maybe that was it to calm him down because he didn't say anything afterwards. He saw him on the bench. If there was anything lingering, I think we would have probably seen it. Maybe Chatwood going barking at somebody else, but I know we are all critical of Tyler Chatwood, but at the same time, he's probably trying to figure out. The first month I was really good. Now I'm in a total crap show ever since then, and he's probably looking for answers too. And maybe whatever Strickland's done, maybe he's got to try and do the same thing. Maybe it's a mechanical issue. Maybe it might be a mental issue. Some of these pitchers do go through issues mentally where they need to go see a sports psychiatrist. And maybe that's the next route. I don't know. You saw what he did the first month and you kind of look at that and go, there's something there. Like he can do that. He can do that. Obviously he did it for the entire month. So there's something there. Now, whether it be spider tack or maybe it was just like Cole said, it was cold and nobody could catch up to him. But there was still some evidence of some talent there. And if you take a look at his record, there is some evidence of ability. So it's something. He does throw 97. He does have a lot of movement. And, when he's right, we've seen it. He's been good. But when he's not, it's been
unwatchable.
It's beyond Tanner Roark watchable. It's just, you just want to go hide.
Do you guys think that, being, the game was 7-2, by all accounts and purposes, the game was over. Let's be honest. They weren't hitting all day. Maybe Charlie was, on some level trying to troll Chatwood there by removing him from the game, knowing that he would blow up.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. Maybe Charlie in his own little ways, like, I'm going to get this guy. Just see what he's going to do. And kind of poke him and see what he does. I can understand Chatwood's point of, hey, let me finish the inning. Maybe in Chatwood's head,
the game's done anyway.
Game is done. Let me just finish the inning so we don't use another arm. Because let's be honest,
which is sensible.
Yeah. Look, man, I'll never forget that game in '92 when Cedar Gaston had somebody out there and they were getting bombed by Milwaukee. And the ending of the game was 22-2. And in Cedar Gaston's mind he was thinking about David Cone because David Cone was going to make his first start for the Jays. And he was thinking, man, I don't want David Cone thinking that if he gets into trouble, I'm going to come and pull him out. And that's what he was thinking. And, maybe Charlie's always got a different way of doing things, but maybe let one of your pitchers get bombed, man. Obviously, it's going to be Tyler Chatwood. Let him get bombed and watch his ERA go up and let everybody else, take a day off. Why not?
I don't agree with that though. Like, yes, it felt like the game was over, but as we've seen, there's been games that felt like they were over. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, the Jays are 1 or 2 runs away with runners on base and the tying runs at the plate. And if Chatwood had not given up those 2 runs, they had the tying run at the plate in the 9th inning. And I just don't think that in today's game, at least, it was a good day to let him get bombed. I think that Charlie has seen enough, and I think that was kind of a telling tale when he pulled him out before the inning ended, right? Like if Charlie thought that the game was over and Charlie hadn't seen enough, then why not let him finish the game, right? Or finish the inning.
I agree with Rob. Charlie was trolling Chatwood.
Good. I am more than happy to say goodbye to Tyler Chatwood. Like, I won't miss him. Like, it doesn't matter. He had 1 good month for us. Congratulations. You're all of 5'8" and you can touch 97 at the backstop. Like, I don't care about that. Like throw a strike and then we can talk.
I don't think Chatwood's that short, man. You can't turn and tell me he's shorter than me. I don't. 5'9". Yeah, I don't know. Chatwood's that short, man.
Yeah, no, he's just not tall. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think we're going to get an unbiased opinion from Cole in regards to Chatwood. It's probably best we kind of move on. Like, like he's gonna start calling him names and stuff. It's just getting personal now.
And to be fair, the game was, they were down 5-2. They couldn't hit a thing all day. They lost yesterday. He didn't pitch. So I think the problems in this team definitely transcend Chatwood. So yeah, I agree. We can move on.
Just quickly, I just read something just before we came on, and someone wrote, I think it was on Facebook. They wrote, I didn't read the whole thing, but all I saw was the words, Vladdy seems to be struggling at the plate. And I just spat my drink out. We're not even contemplating that. It's like 2 games out.
He went over for 4 the last 2 games. Like, relax. He let Homer.
I don't care. I honestly don't care. And it just goes to show you, the Jays fans, just when you don't think they can surprise you anymore, they come out with something like this. Like, seriously.
You said you want to talk about something.
Yeah, we're gonna go back 24 hours. We're gonna go back to yesterday, and I feel the need to talk about this. Major League Baseball games on YouTube, I don't have an issue with. If they want to put it on a platform because it's good advertising for the game and all of that kind of stuff, where someone can access it, it doesn't cost them anything, it's great. The graphics, everything about it was great, apart from the commentating. Now, what kind of drugs do you think they were on yesterday?
Okay, hold on. Let's not include Mark DeRosa in this conversation.
Yeah, Mark DeRosa is a different story. The other 3...
I cannot believe that Major League Baseball, as an organization, that's how they perceive the fans want to see a broadcast. Like, I was shocked that an organization so big that generates millions and billions of dollars, I was going to say pounds then. It probably is pounds as well. But I was like, you can't be serious. Like, they're all talking. Like, we're not professionals, right? We do this, but yet we don't all talk over each other. We understand when someone's talking, and if we interrupt, we kind of stop. We acknowledge. We might make a joke about it. Sheldon might threaten to throw someone out the window. But there's an understanding, and we're not getting paid to do this yet.
I like that term, yet. I think we should get paid for this.
Yeah. But my point is that these guys that were on yesterday, they're getting paid to do that. Like, I'm not being funny. Like, we could, as a 4, go and do a much better job and actually commentate on the game that's being played, rather than 90% talking about something that's totally irrelevant. I'm still kind of lost for words on it, really. Like, what's your take on it?
I agree with a lot of stuff that you said. I think that the YouTube game is really cool. The stats, for me who enjoys looking at that stuff, it's, heaven for me. Like, looking at all these advanced numbers instead of hearing, Buck Martinez just go to, oh, this guy, he's good because he's got a high batting average. The same old retort that I've been hearing for years. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the change. But yeah, the commentating, it seemed very stale. It seemed very dry, talking over one another. And I'm going to be honest, halfway through the game, Mo and Cole hit me up on a FaceTime call. We just chilled, watched the game together. So I didn't really pay much attention to the commentating. But overall, the reaction on Twitter and the Jays fans didn't seem to be a very positive one. It seemed like they're in the same boat as you, Jay, and like us at the start of the game, where the idea is cool, but the execution definitely needs a lot of work, to say it nicely.
And that's not even I think the biggest issue that come out of it all is that if you want to keep doing it, you can't keep executing it like that, because the next time a Blue Jays game is on YouTube, how many of us are going to be intrigued to hop on and listen to Brian Kenny for 3 hours? Because I bet you that won't be.
I won't do it. I'll be honest with you. I won't do it. I stayed up mainly because I wanted to see how they did it and what it was going to bring to the table. And quite frankly, I won't stay up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning watching a game that's like that. I did eventually I muted the volume. I was like, I can't listen to these guys. And the problem that I found was when I did that, I started going on my phone, and then I was watching loads of people rant about it on Facebook or on Instagram, and
Yeah.
I'm not concentrating on the game at all. I have no idea, and the next thing I know, we lose.
Yeah, we're not the minority when it comes to people that didn't enjoy Brian Kenny yesterday. But I'm a hands down like idol fan of Mark DeRosa, and I think he's legit, and he's probably one of the best MLB broadcasters there is in the game right now. But the rest of that staff, it was pretty pitiful, and I agree that it's not a hot take. There's plenty of guys, not even just us four. If us four had the game, we would have done fine. But there's plenty of guys in the world, and plenty of guys that are employed by MLB that could do that game and put up a better performance than that. I'd rather listen to Buck Martinez, even though he does talk about a batting average that doesn't exist anymore.
You know what made it worse was the fact that the pre-game show thing that they did beforehand was really good.
I don't think I checked that out.
They had I don't know who the guys were, but they were talking, and obviously when you watch Sportsnet, it's very Jays, it's very one-sided. But because it was MLB, there was stuff that we were getting from both teams, and it kind of gave us an idea of what we should be looking out for, like what to expect, that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I'd be lying because I was pretty sick yesterday, and like I was in all sorts of trouble. But I just thought that it was good. And then they went from one extreme to the other, something that was actually quite enjoyable to watch, to like, I'm going to turn this off in a minute. The only reason why I didn't turn it off was because I thought we had a good chance of actually winning.
Yeah, the telltale sign for me was when I got home. So I was actually doing a softball practice, and I missed the first 5 innings. And I got home, and the first thing I saw was I looked at the TV, and my mom was not watching the Jays. She was actually listening to it on the radio. And
wow.
when I turned on the YouTube, and I just kind of heard Brian. As soon as I heard Brian Kenny, I just went, it's understandable. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like his approach, his analytical approach, but as someone doing a game, I don't want to hear him. I could probably tolerate him for, on and off, but to do a full 3-hour game, it's too much. Like I said, and this is the generation gap that we were talking about earlier between, like, say, Rob, Cole, and us, is we were kind of brought up in the storytelling of the game and the storytelling of these individuals, where they are, play-by-play, wherever they are. And now you hear more about stats like wins above replacement and the WOBA and all these other and all these other things. Yeah, I kind of figured out what WOBA is now. Okay.
Sounds like a religion cheer.
Yeah, I know. And I get it. The game is changing. It is evolving to include more stats, and that's what baseball really is. It's all about statistical analysis, right? But there are a lot of people who say, "Look, man, just keep it basic for us. Batting average, home runs, RBI, stolen bases, runs scored. We're good with that." But then if you're seeing a graphic, it shows like, a 97 mile per hour breaking ball with a 2,300 spin revolution, and kind of like, is it a video game or something, man? So
you can take that stuff though. It was when they put the screen so we could actually see them while they were talking a load of crap. I was like, there's just no need. Why do we need to see them sitting on a sofa? Like it was like they were in a really shitty restaurant and they were just having drinks before their food was served. It's like, we don't need to see that. They very rarely go to like Buck and stuff on the sports broadcasts. And it's normally at the beginning, 30-second montage, maybe at the end to say goodbye, thanks for coming and all that. But like, for me, it's a big no.
If they had DeRosa, Shahadi, and Flores, I think we all would have said, hands down, I think all of us would have said, okay, we can watch it, we can listen to them. All three are knowledgeable. I'm not saying the others that were there last night are not knowledgeable, but it's more about the actual game versus.
And it was a case of like, let's just throw a female in there because we need one just to make the numbers look a bit better. They wouldn't let her talk. They wouldn't let her talk.
Yeah, she just came in and like would throw in like an obvious like rendition of the previous take, but just in a different different combination of words.
413 feet. I repeat, the home run was 413 feet.
I agree. To keep some of the sport basic, and that is the commentating aspect. I agree that the game should evolve, and it has evolved statistically, but that doesn't change the way you tell a story. And I agree with Sheldon by saying that like commentators prior to the modern era were like stellar, and I think we've all like remembered names like that and remembered calls from older guys, and it's like that never needed to change. Like just because the game evolves doesn't mean the storytelling of that same game needs to evolve. And last night was an example of them trying to take it to another level, and it's like it wasn't needed, and it just made the game not as enjoyable, to the fact where people that watch Jays games all the time, like Sheldon's mom, doesn't watch it on TV, or someone like you who is on YouTube consistently, Jay, and you said that you don't want to watch another game on YouTube if you turn it on and Brian Kenny is the first name and the first guy you hear. And it's like, that's completely understandable. And to Sheldon's point of like Mark DeRosa and Lauren Shahadi and Robert Flores, like if they would have done it, they would have actually got significant more viewers. Like I'm someone that wishes that their morning show wasn't 10 to 12 Monday to Friday when everybody's at work. Because I like that show, hands down, like compared to like Sports Centers and Sportsnet Central, like MLB Central is that, and then 10 times better. Like it's Jay and Dan combined with Sportsnet Central, focused on baseball specifically. And these guys are legit like good at what they do. And it's the most enjoyable 2 hours of my life when I can actually sit down and watch it. And I just think that there's got to be, I mean, obviously these two people like Flores and Shahadi weren't available, right? Like it's not like the MLB knows. It's not like the MLB is trying to pursue these. I can't even, besides Brian Kenny, I can't even tell you the two names. And it's not like they wanted them out there. It was more like that's probably what the cards they were dealt. But at that point, cut it to a 3-man crew or a 2-man crew with DeRosa and Kenny, and like even then that wouldn't have been as bad.
That's a valid point. Like to say, I'll go, Robin, and you can say what you want to say. But that's a valid point. How many broadcasts, unless it's like the World Series or it's the playoff finals in NBA where you might have a 3 or 4-man panel, you normally it's two guys. They have a chemistry. They can feed. And look, it could be two females, whatever. I don't care. But they have a chemistry. They work together on a regular basis. They understand how the other one works. One will be the stats guy. One will be the storytelling guy. And between them, they will explain exactly what's going on. Because don't forget, some people can't see. And I'm not being funny. If I was a blind person and I was watching that, I would have been like, this is some kind of joke channel. I'm not in the right place today. And I think that's something that they really overlooked. Like sometimes, like if I'm trying to go to sleep and I've got the game on and it's 3:00 in the morning, and what I'll do is I'm just listening. I'm not watching what's going on. And I used to be able to do that, like in the days of listening to the Fan 590, for example, when I'd be listening to Wilner, who was the guy before him?
Deacon Howard?
No.
Alan Ashby?
No, the guy who actually did called the games. It was Tom Cheek was before, Jerry Howarth.
Yeah.
So I'd listen to them, and you wouldn't have to watch the game to understand what was going on. You couldn't do that with this, and that for me was a big like, oh, I don't know where they're going with this. And the worst thing is technology. Like we're talking about YouTube here, one of the probably biggest technology companies that is out there. You'd think they would use it to their advantage. Where was the red button to mute the audio, or rather than them saying, so that home run was hit how many ever feet it was, why not use the graphics to your advantage so that you're actually just talking about the game? And if you want to bring these cool things up, bring it up. We can see it with our eyes.
Yeah.
Like
that was actually.
No, go ahead, Rob.
That was actually my point that I was trying to make. I think a lot of people they try their best to I don't know why the new age analytical numbers and the storytelling of an actual game, the narrative that people find interesting, people that have found interesting for many years. I don't know why they have to be, mutually exclusive. Why can't you, like you said, Jay, have these cool new numbers on the screen and also, tell the cool narratives and the cool stories that everyone likes to hear anyway? I'm not sure why it has to be one side or the other necessarily.
Yeah, and like besides like the graphics saying YouTube on it and stuff like that, how many times through the game did the four-man crew, 4-person crew acknowledge the YouTube chat or ask questions to the chat or show messages in the chat, like good messages, obviously, because like the YouTube chat can get
you weren't
get pretty
allowed
wild.
you weren't allowed to comment on the YouTube chat. That I looked at it, so that's what. Okay, yeah. See, now you're all interested. So I went into it when it just first started to see. I was like, that's pretty cool. I go in it. Jay's talk with Jay. If I start commenting in there, I might actually get some traction of it. You had to be invited by MLB to be able to write in the comments.
Yeah, so they've done that a few times on their live streams, which can prove to be a good thing because there's a lot of people that will watch the game not in full screen and have that chat on the side, and then like might turn the game off because of what they see in the chat. And like, in my opinion, that's on the user. That's not on MLB for having an open chat. Like that's what YouTube's for, is the community. And if YouTube and MLB can't regulate that to a point where people won't stay, then that's on them. But for the users,
you're telling me that YouTube can't censor some of the content before it comes out. Yeah, that's
exactly
nonsense.
Yeah. So if you're going to do a YouTube game, do a YouTube game. Go all out. When NFL last year in the playoffs did a Nickelodeon game, they did a Nickelodeon game. It was all out. People loved it because of how much they went into it. If you're gonna lean one way, go all in. You got to go all in. And the MLB has never done that for YouTube. In fact, we're acting as if this is like the first game that we've watched an MLB game on YouTube. And it might be our first game, but there used to be like 2 seasons ago an MLB game of the week on YouTube every single week, and it was the same case back then.
It's not our first game though, is it? We had one last season as well. Yeah.
No, I don't think they had one last season.
No. I don't know, but
I think they had one the year. I think they had one the season before.
Might have been the year before. It could have been the year before.
Oh, 2019. Yeah, I think they had a couple a year.
But it's something that it did bug me. It bugged me all last night. And so I just thought it was something worth talking about. I was like, what, is it just me? Or
no, it definitely wasn't. I mean, I didn't tune in for the majority of the game, and when I did, I wasn't listening, but I can clearly tell that I'm not wrong for thinking that it wasn't good.
What do we think of the I'll say fall apart? It wasn't even really a fall apart. It was like a hang in there, hang in there, hang in there.
Gut punch.
Go to extras. Throw it away.
I question the new toy we have that didn't get used, but there must have been a reason for it. And
couldn't open the box.
I'm not against getting them in the game in low leverage situations to just kind of ease them into our system. I'm not against that at all. I just wish Charlie would say that. I wish just after the game, I wish Charlie would have said that. Like, look, he just got here, just got off the plane. We didn't want to use him tonight in an extra innings game, and we're trying to win a ball game and win a series. We'll use him tomorrow if need be. Like, if he could just say that, that'd be awesome. But he didn't say that, and that's where I come up with an issue.
Yeah, I think to me, I'm a guy who really buys into matchups and the analytics of the game, and I think I will acknowledge that Patrick Murphy in that situation, type of pitcher, probably a lot more favorable in that situation. But I think to me, this is one of those situations where, to me, it's just, I'm not sure it's all that valid. I think those are one of the points where you just got to use common sense and say, this guy's a better pitcher than this guy, and you have to put him in just for that reason, regardless of the matchup. And I think Adam Simber, I'll say it right now, I think Blue Jays fans, the fact that they're so starved for a reliable arm, that they're going to overrate Adam Simber a little bit. If, this was kind of the only year, this half year, where he's been a legitimately dominant reliever. He's not a guy who's got a huge track record of success as a late inning, late leverage guy. if you look at his last years with Cleveland, they've been kind of, middle of the pack. He doesn't throw hard. He's got a weird, funky delivery. Like, to me, I think he's a stopgap. He's not the solution to this pen. I think if on August 1st he's even your top 3 reliever, you still have a big bullpen issue, in my opinion. I think, to me, he's just, like I said, a stopgap until the trade deadline, which is fine. But at the end of the day, he's still, right now, your number 2 best reliever. He's the second best reliever you have right now. And in that situation, you got him to pitch high leverage innings, and that was one yesterday. And look, I think they're still hoping on Patrick Murphy, but I would have liked to see Simber there if he was available. And by all accounts, looked like he was.
I think with Simber coming in, because he throws a different angle, that really magnifies his ability. I mean, especially if you got him coming in after someone who's throwing 95, and you got Simber who throws, sub 3, kind of submarine sidearm, and then you combat with another 95 or 97 coming out of the bullpen. That only enhances the guy who's the 97, 90, 95, 97 that's coming in second. I like the pickup. Like what Rob said, I think the Jays fans are going to hype up Simber to the point where they think he's going to be a Cy Young contender in 4 months. And but they're still not done with that bullpen. I would like to see another arm, especially someone who throws from a different angle, from a different slot. That's what makes Tampa so good. They got people coming in and they throw multiple angles and multiple slots and multiple directions. And if you take a look at the Jays bullpen, everybody's coming over the top or high 3/4. So hopefully, I don't think anybody speculated Simber was a person that we would get. That came completely out of the blue. Hopefully they look at another arm. And again, look at a slot angle. Now, with that being said, Cole mentioned it before, bringing Simber in and getting used to the system. I don't even know if Charlie knows he has a system. I think his system is the playbook, and he goes with that. So that might be the system. And they're trying to figure out how they're going to erase Tyler Chatwood and put Simber in there. I think they're still trying to figure that part out. But if he was available last night, they should have used him. But there might have been something there. There might have been some kind of protocol or something. Maybe, who knows, with COVID or some kind of madness.
It sounded like, because when Charlie said he may be available for the game, and that was for last night, it sounded like that he might not have even been there. I think that may have played into it, and maybe I'm reading between the lines, but
wait, hold on, that Simber wasn't there?
No, because when he wasn't there for the first game, right? And then he was there for last night.
Yeah.
But when Charlie mentioned him, he said he may be available. So I've got a feeling that there was some kind of issue that he may not have been there for whatever the reason was. It could have been down to COVID testing, whatever. Who knows? Yeah. But maybe
he was at the game. That's what I'm saying.
No, but I don't think that they
were
planning for him. But I don't think they were planning for him to be there. I think that's what it was. So when he did turn up, they probably thought he's probably just got here. We don't know what time he got there. Like he could have turned up just before the game started. Who knows?
I agree.
Don't forget to. Sorry to cut you off there, Cole. Yeah. Charlie Montoyo. It's very well publicized that he gets buried by the media anytime he loses a close game. Regardless of what decision he puts in, and some of them are well within the limits of fans. I think there's definitely been some questionable decisions, but it would have been really easy for Charlie Montoyo just throw out Simber, the new toy that they just got, and said, even if he blew over and lost the game, it would have been, oh, well, not my fault. That's all you got from me, front office. So I think, to me, there's got to be some other issue going on. That's what my initial thought.
Yeah, and I completely agree. There had to have been a reason why he wasn't available last night. And I also completely agree with the fact that he isn't necessarily typed out to be a leading reliever guy. But the issue is you traded for him, and he has the best numbers or the second best numbers in your bullpen. So therefore, by default, he's got to be your second best reliever. And by default,
that makes, late inning guy.
Right, that makes you a late inning guy. Obviously, he's not the solution. Obviously, he statistically is not supposed to be that guy, and the Jays aren't looking for him to be that guy. From what it seems from last night to tonight, they don't even want him to be that guy. But if that's the case, you're going to lose ball games because you're throwing out guys that aren't as good as him that you want to be late inning guys.
obviously now that they have started to, looks like they've started to pull the trigger. I have two questions because something's been bugging me. Obviously, it was a 2-player trade.
Right.
Dickerson, I'm trying to figure out where this guy fits in.
Nowhere.
Once he's fit, and if he's not, is he a trade chip?
No.
Well,
Do we flip him? Do we flip him?
he makes the rest of the outfield as expandable as it comes. So with him coming in as an outfielder, that leaves you to A, flip him, or B, flip Grichuk, or C, flip Gurriel. And what I like about Dickerson coming in is that our bench were not legit bench guys. Those were AAA guys that we needed on our roster to fill the roster. Dickerson's a legit bench guy on the lefty side that provides the same power tool as Rowdy did, and that was the only reason why Rowdy had a spot on the roster. So therefore, I think I like the move, but I do expect an outfielder to get moved at the deadline.
I don't completely agree with that notion. I think Corey Dickerson, as of right now, he's a bench player, and that's kind of all he's going to be. He's not going to be a trade chip. He's not going to challenge Gurriel or Randall Grichuk's job. I think to me this acquisition is very similar to Nori Aoki in 2017, where if you can take on this guy's contract, which is a lot more than we're willing to pay for him, we'll give you a premium player for a much lower cost. That's what they got with Teoscar Hernandez. They took on the Aoki contract for the rest of the year, took it off the books from Houston. In exchange, they got Teoscar Hernandez, who was a much better return than the player that they gave out, Francisco Liriano. So I think that's kind of what this trade was. He was kind of a package deal. Give us a bad contract, we'll give you a better player for almost nothing.
What is his contract, out of interest?
I think he's making $5 million this year for a guy who is probably just a backup outfielder. That's a pretty steep price to pay. And Miami, they're a team that loves to shed their tax bill as much as they can. We saw it with all the trades they made. They thought that they can get out of $5 million. So I think that's why they made that deal.
Yeah. So right now, Dickerson's contract is actually $8.7 million.
There you go. So it's worse than I thought.
It's a lot of money to be sitting on the bench, though, right?
Yeah. So
Well,
that's why Miami was so bent on trading him away for nothing.
And he's a free agent at the end of the season. So
yeah, but that's why Jay thinks that he's trade bait. Like, you don't want to keep $8.7 million yourself. And if
who's going to trade for a bench player making $8.6 million?
No. You don't. I don't think you trade him. That's the thing, is that because he is who he is, you can trade a Grichuk for a reliever that you're looking for. You know what I mean? Grichuk we won't need next year. You don't need Grichuk next year.
Yeah, but he's your best option this year.
Right. But are we going to lose that much value if Dickerson's our DH and we trade for a reliever that can get us outs in the late game? Like, Jays can win games right now, 1-9, without that DH spot being Grichuk and it being Dickerson. If it comes with a late inning reliever.
Yeah, but Cole, we just got a reliever for a fifth infielder who doesn't play. Like, I think you're overvaluing the cost of relievers. I don't think you have to give up an everyday player just to get a quality reliever.
So you
don't handicap the lineup.
You think to get Richard Rodriguez, we won't need to give up an everyday hitter?
I mean, I don't think so. Like, who you think Pittsburgh's going to want Grichuk? Because don't forget, teams that are selling off their players, they're not going to want. They want a guy who's controllable and young. You know, Randall Grichuk, he's a win now player. Why would Pittsburgh get any value from acquiring a Randall Grichuk? You know,
that's what worries me, that it's not Randall that's going.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be Gurriel.
Yeah, it's one of the three. That's what I'm saying. And if one of those three are your answer to getting a Richard Rodriguez, I think that's the price.
I have a theory. And this is why I asked the question. Like, Gurriel goes, does that upset the dressing room?
Yeah. I don't think
that's a close knit group.
And that's why I wouldn't even be looking at doing that. I just think that, like, I've been itching for them to pull the trigger, and it looks like they've started the ball rolling, and they must have some kind of game plan in their head. What worries me is that it is Gurriel that is the sacrifice basically to get what they need, because our bullpen has been decimated. I don't know if it's a good move. I think that it could backfire on us.
out of all those outfielders, really Gurriel's the one who will probably bring back something. Grichuk, as well
Don't
as
get much
he's
of Springer
played.
at the moment either.
Well, no, Springer's definitely not one of those guys, unless someone wants to.
He's here to stay.
Yeah, he's here to stay.
Yeah.
It is conceivable. It is conceivable that the Jays will, once Dickerson looks like he's healthy, may give him a few at bats, and if they can't trade him, they'll just release him. They did that with Aoki. We talked about him earlier. He was here for a month and then he was gone. So it is conceivable that could happen. But we don't know what Dickerson.
They haven't got a problem. They haven't got a problem with writing money off. They did it with Tanner Rourke's contract.
They did it with Rourke. They did it with Tulowitzki. They've done it with all these individuals. I'm pretty sure I believe there was money that was involved in that deal too that went from Miami to Toronto.
Yeah, to kind of offset the salary.
Yeah. So, look, if they have now, so that could go back to what Rob was saying with the $5 million. That could have been $5 million left on the contract.
Right.
And they could write it off. There's no reason why they can't. If it meant to get Simber that they had to take on Dickerson's contract,
that's exactly what happened. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm upset. Like, if we keep Dickerson and we keep 5 outfielders for the remainder of the year and Dickerson's our bench guy, I'm okay with that.
Going back to
no, go ahead.
Going back to the sorry, you kind of cut off on my screen. I thought you were done talking there. My bad, Cole.
No, I was done.
Oh, okay. I was saying, in going back to the idea of possibly trading Gurriel, like, I do think that there is a case to be made that having his presence in the locker room, a tight knit group, would hurt them, but also it would also be a bad business decision too. Because don't forget, 6 months ago, the Jays basically didn't pull the trigger on Francisco Lindor, and the lead package, the frontline package heading back was Gurriel. How bad would it look if you don't pull the trigger on that trade and then you ship him off for a reliever that you could probably get for a top 20 to 30 prospect? Doesn't that kind of seem like a bad business move?
Yeah, not pulling the trigger again on a headline move for Gurriel being your centerpiece going back, I agree, is a bad business move, and unfortunately, that's why all of these professional leagues are a business. There's gonna come a point where you might have to separate that close-knit group, and it might take a month or so for that group to re-heal and allow their emotions to not play a factor. And that's what playoff teams do. To win a World Series, you're going to have to make tough moves like that. And if that's the move that it takes, then that's the move that it takes, unfortunately.
And let me just be clear by saying, I don't necessarily think not trading for Francisco Lindor was a bad move by the organization. Francisco Lindor was a one-and-done player. He was not re-signing here, especially if the cost of doing business was $250 million. There's no reason to believe Rogers was willing to push across that money across the table to him. So the fact that you were able to keep your guys and not make that move for just 1 year, I think that's a good move. But also, the thing is, if that's all it took was trading Gurriel, you might as well just have done it if his value is so low where you're willing to give him off for just a reliever, right? That's my idea of thinking.
No, I think if, like I said, I can't see Gurriel being traded unless it's like someone they're overwhelmed with, just because of how close that group is. Grichuk's got no trade value. I shouldn't say no trade value, but his trade value is very low. Like what Rob said, he's a win now type of player. So it's going to have to be a move where maybe it might be a 3-way deal where somebody joins in and they kind of do something in that way. Maybe the Giants could take him. Maybe the Giants could take Grichuk, and there could be another team involved, like maybe Arizona, and that could work out in some way. But I'm kind of leaning towards Dickerson being here for the month, and then he might either get traded or he'll get designated for assignment.
But I think there's more to come from this over the next couple of weeks. Trade deadline is the end of July, right?
July
31st.
July 31st.
Okay, so we've got 4 or 5 weeks? 4 or 5 weeks to see what happens. Okay, so moving on. Well, we were just discussing what's coming up next. It looks like it's Tampa Bay, Baltimore, All-Star break, Tampa Bay again. Rob, you just said it depends on which side of the coin you look at it. We've done what I thought we should do. I said that we needed to go 7-3. We've gone 8-2 in the last 10. Well, no, it might be actually 7-3 now that we lost today.
We've won 8 of our last 12.
Yeah. Okay. So 8 out of 12 is roughly where I think we need to be. But I think we're going to have to do that again. How do you think, like, because Tampa Bay have had a little bit of a rough ride, bearing in mind they were 4 or 5 games ahead of Boston. And Boston are now, I think they're 2 ahead. It might even be 3 because they won today as well.
Right.
Can we finally end the jinx against Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do it. They're obviously not playing their best baseball. Us, despite the fact that we did lose a series that we probably should have won against Seattle. Let's face it. We've been playing a lot better as of late. Every time they play the Rays, they're always competitive games against them. I do fear that, unfortunately, if we typically lose a lot of close games to Tampa because their bullpen is very good, a lot better than ours is. So that's obviously a cause for concern. But right now, you look at the Blue Jays, the wild card standings. Tampa Bay is the team they're chasing. Really, they're that second wild card. So if you can take a 2 out of 3, you're not only gaining ground in your own division, but you're also gaining ground on the wild card. Both avenues of making the postseason. So yeah, absolutely, this is a huge series. These 6 games over the course of the next few weeks are huge against them. And like I said before we off camera, you can look at it as a tough part of the schedule, or you can also look at it as a good opportunity to really make up some ground. So I think this series is huge. They absolutely need to win this series, no matter what. 2 out of 3 at least.
Yeah, I don't think as a Jays roster right now, you should be looking at any team as a tough task ahead of you. You're fully capable offensively to put a stomping on any major league team going right now. And Tampa Bay Rays, on the baseball that they've been playing recently, and the fact that you won't face their number one guy because he's injured, that's definitely a series you got to win. And talking about going 8 or 12, like, yeah, obviously 8 or 12, you keep doing that, you're going to find yourself in a playoff spot. And the Jays are fully capable of continuing going 8 and 12 in the AL East. Like, against these guys, they're fully competitive against all 5 teams in this division. And no one would be shocked if Jays sat atop the division, and no one would be shocked if the Jays finished where they are right now.
I'm kind of gutted that Glasnow's injured because we kind of had his number.
Fair. I'm glad.
Just
now,
saying.
See, we want to talk about sticky stuff. The fact that this guy thinks he's injured because he can't put sticky stuff.
He's an idiot. I've touched on this twice, and I just think the guy's an absolute idiot. I don't know. No other words.
Yeah, it's laughable. That makes me laugh. Like, you're a schmuck. Like, you're a schmuck. Like, you tell me you grew up putting pine tar on your fingers when you were 12 years old? Nah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
He's the criminal that breaks into someone's house and accidentally steps on a knife and sues the person for having a knife out. He broke into their house.
Yes, I think that's a golden analogy. I think that's.
Yeah, I think we've had Tyler Glasnow's number 2 times, but really, if we're being honest, it seems like no matter who the Rays are out there, that they look like a number 1 guy against us. They just seem to resurrect anyone from the pits of the minor league and go out there, throw 6 innings, 1-run ball. So it's, I guess you're kind of glad you don't have to face Glasnow, but at the same time, it's whoever you face, you're in for a tough matchup against the Rays. Especially Ryan Yarbrough, who looks like a prime Kershaw against us.
Yeah. What's good about the Yarbrough start is that we answer that with Ray, and I think that's a great one too to go against.
Sheldon.
Actually, looking at their schedule, the next 9 games, they got to go 6-3 at the minimum. 6-3. They got to win those 3 series. They can't just say, okay, we're going to blow up Tampa for 3, and then they lose to 3 to Baltimore, and then they struggle in the following series with Tampa. So 2 out of 3 every single series.
I have to take something back as well, because last time we were on, Rob, I actually said that I didn't think Baltimore were as bad as the results suggested.
They're
take
that
back. They're shockingly bad, and the fact that we've actually let them win a game here and a game there really annoys me now because they don't really have anything apart from Trey Mancini, maybe.
Yeah.
Ryan Mountcastle likes to bat around the ball against us.
Yeah, he seems to play against us and only against us.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime you play that team and you don't win a game, it's a missed opportunity. It's simple as that. I know that they're a baseball team, barely, and they're susceptible to winning a few games here and a few games there. But that Friday game, you won 3 out of 4 in that series. Normally, you'd be very happy. I'm looking back at that series. That should have been a sweep. I've never been that disappointed for winning 3 out of 4.
They didn't win that game. We lost that game. There's a big difference.
Yeah, no, and I think that with the Baltimore Orioles, like the good analogy with them is that they're a Major League Baseball team barely. They're realistically a AAA baseball team that is playing in the major leagues, and they have a couple Major League caliber players, and those guys seem to do quite well against us. And we're like the fact that we're a bullpen away from being first in the AL East is a good problem to be sitting in right now.
Yeah, they don't have, and I don't want to make this Orioles talk because it's kind of like, making fun of the unfortunate. Like, we know they're terrible. That's not highly publicized. I don't think they have one guy in that rotation, now with that John Means is obviously out, that is a big league pitcher. If I'm being honest, there's not one guy that I think, this guy should be that deserves to be wearing a major league uniform as a starting pitcher in the big leagues.
Their pitching staff make our pitching staff look even better.
Good.
Yeah. and that says something. Like it was only up until the last series that we played them where I actually was actually paying a bit more attention, only because of what you said, Rob. And I was like, nah, I think they're better than this. And then obviously you watch and you watch. And
they're not.
And they really aren't as good as you thought they were, Jay. Like, just what were you thinking?
It's like the Mariners. Like they're sitting above 500 in a shitty division, but
they have a better record than us.
But their run differential is atrocious.
Look at any of their stats. They rank bottom half in every single thing that you can count, whether it's from batting average to your analytical stuff. They're just a bad team. And even watching them in this 3-game set, you can see why they aren't that good. And the fact that you lost is just like, it's embarrassing. And that's the only word that I could use today.
I'm annoyed that we lost to the Mariners, if I'm honest. It's a series that I thought would sweep.
Yeah, especially with Ryu, a guy who's a lefty. This is a type of matchup that you thought he'd be very good in because the Mariners have a lot of lefties. They don't have a good lineup, period, especially when they face lefties. So the fact that he wasn't able to even have a somewhat decent start today is a little concerning, if I'm being honest.
Well, let's be honest here. I was just going to say, let's be honest here. They swept Tampa. So somehow they did it. And, that should have been a precursor to the Jays. Like, oh, shoot, maybe this team could win 2 out of 3 out of us. And maybe we got to bring our hitting shoes. But obviously that didn't happen. So,
am I in saying that didn't they get no hit twice this year?
Yeah, they're obviously hot and very, very, very hot when they're playing Tampa, and they're very, very cold against teams like that.
They're Miami Marlins West, where their pitching staff is legit. Like, they got some guys who are very solid pitchers, and their offense is just anemic. That's kind of the cross comparison between those two teams.
Right, Rob, you said trade talk.
Right.
I've made this point before. I think that 1 to 9 batting wise, we could roll with that. Not only even this season, we could roll with that next season and be quite happy with that. Yeah. And that's regardless of who the catcher is as well. Like, I think that out of the 4 guys, include Riley Adams in that, he's young, he's learning. He's only going to learn by being up in the majors, right? You go 1 to 9, we'll take that every day. Cole, you touched on the fact that we don't really have the bench, and they even said that in the commentary today, didn't they? They're like, who have we got on the bench?
Yeah, they said there's not many opportunities for pinch hitting, not just because your starters are good, but because your bench isn't that good.
No, and that's it. But like, when you've got a 1 to 9, who are you going to have sitting on the bench, really? And like, I like Kevin. I have no issue with him starting, but do I feel confident he's going to come and change a game off the bench? Not really.
No.
Not really. So what do we need? And please don't say Dickerson is the answer, because the guy can't even play at the moment. So they don't even know when he's going to play, do they really? So what's the answer there? We all know that we need at least another arm in the bullpen, hoping that we get some of our guys back. And also a starter. And if you say Berrios, I'm going to boot you from the chat now.
Whoa, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Because
Berrios
we already know that you want him. Everybody, all 12 people that watch my podcast know that you want Berrios.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think he's the leading candidate, right? He's the leading candidate in what you will spend to get him. He's the leading candidate in what you will get in return. He's the leading candidate in the fact that he's controllable. Like, I think that the numbers and everything that goes into it, the logistics, just makes too much sense to think that we need to go after anybody else other than him.
But
like,
you guys are divided though on what you think we would need to give up to get him though, right?
My package is, and I've thought about this, I think Jordan Groshans, Adam Kloffenstein, and a filler prospect gets it done.
For Berrios?
Yeah. You disagree?
I think Minnesota will probably hold out for more, or they'll probably go to another team and say, "This is what Toronto's giving. We do want to match it."
Sheldon, no offense there, but your Yankees, I know you can keep hope trafficking, but they got nothing to offer.
The Yankees don't have anything to offer. I'm the first to tell you that right now. The Yankees have absolutely nothing to offer unless they get creative and they say, "Hey, we'll toss Torres and somebody else out there." It's not going to happen.
Well, by the way, me and Cole are having this conversation. Is Gleyber Torres even better than Kevin Biggio at this point?
Gleyber Torres is a piece of garbage right now. Honestly, you know what? I think this team, the Yankees team, I know we're going into like Yankee stock, which Jay loves. No, it's not happening. The worst move that the Yankees actually made was re-signing DJ LeMahieu. And I know it sounds kind of crazy to say that, but that move made them defensively weaker because now you put a substandard second baseman playing your shortstop position who was making Biggio look like a Gold Glover. So that move kind of backfired on him. I get why they did it because it's New York and people love DJ, but that move was not good.
I don't understand how this helps our bullpen though.
Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there soon. Don't worry. So back to the bullpen issue, or the whole pitching staff issue. I think Berrios will cost more than what Rob. I mean, that's a good starting package. I'm not going to say it's not a good starting package, but I think it's going to become a bidding war. And you got to look at other teams that have capable or comparable minor league systems that they could turn around and say, okay, well, we can beat that with something else. I mean, there's nothing stopping Chicago to throw in and say, hey, we know we just had a fight with Josh Donaldson, but you got somebody we like. Would you want someone in return? What would you want in return? So,
I suppose, but I do think that like Groshans, Van Eyck, a filler prospect, or Kloffenstein and a filler prospect, and a filler prospect is, I think, a very good offer for Berrios, and on a guy that you're not on a guy that you're only keeping Berrios for next year. Like he won't re-sign in Minnesota if he doesn't get traded, and
you can pay him.
Right, and Minnesota is like definitely in the spot where they need to rebuild. Like they're not in a spot where they can contend or just get a couple major league ready guys that are a bit younger. Like no, you need to fill that prospect gap. And the Jays are the best team, I think, in the majors that have the depth that Minnesota could want. And I think that the Jays are willing to go even further than a Groshans and Kloppstein and a filler prospect if they want to.
They would have to, because you got to think. You got Chicago White Sox, who's got a good minor league system. You got Atlanta, who's got a good minor league system. San Diego seems to pull these weird ass trades and get people that they need. I'm not saying that they're in for Berrios, but if they need to do something. They probably could do it. The Dodgers have the money, and they do have some pretty good prospects that they could probably pull the trigger on a deal too. So I'm not saying Barrios is totally out of the question. It's just that they're going to be in a bidding war for Barrios. So maybe they need to go to a different, maybe someone who's good, but maybe not Barrios to
Cole,
So then
you go.
Yeah. So my question to you, Sheldon, is what's your alternative? Who is your leading candidate for logistics, like what you give up and what you get in return? Who's your leading candidate?
I was actually leaning towards Colorado's, not Marquez or Gray, but I was actually looking at Michael Givens and Kyle Freeland, a lefty arm and a righty arm and a lefty arm. And, Freeland probably does need a change in address. He's not a bad starter as starters go, especially in Colorado. He had posted up some good numbers. Givens would be a nice arm in the bullpen. So I will look at those two. And it's probably not going to cost a Groshans or a Klopfenstein. It may cost something a little bit lower. But those would be the two arms. If I had to go big, Barrios would be someone I would look at. But again, what are you trading to get him? Why not take a look at Baltimore? Baltimore doesn't have a lot, but they do have some bullpen arms that could be useful. Hunter Harvey might be useful. You may not have to trade a lot for him. Shoot, man, who knows? The way the Yankees are going, they may want to trade Chapman. And and hopefully get something that they got the last time when they traded Chapman. And they got Torres in that deal. So
but as we know,
the Yankees will try and get a lot out of that trade. So they got 5 weeks, but I would kind of look at Gibbons and Freeland before we go.
Can I just ask a question before Cole?
Not really. No, this has gone from Jay Stock and Jay to the Blue Jay Center.
It hasn't, and it won't. But what I've noticed over the last few weeks is that everyone is willing to give up Groshans, and I'm not sure I understand why.
Okay,
call me naive, but why is that the case?
So my point, and I think that me and Rob agree on this, and this is something rare that me and Rob will agree on. But prospects, especially in baseball, are just that. They're just guys that have a name, that have been good so far in their career, that got drafted in a good position. And as we know in the draft, the MLB draft means absolutely slim to nothing. Like, you can get drafted in the 10th round, you can get drafted in the first round, and you could have completely two different players. So Groshans right now for the Jays, unless the Jays front office absolutely thinks that 2 years from today he's in your lineup producing, contributing to a World Series team, you got to make moves.
Like Vladdy, basically.
Right. You got to make moves. You got to make moves that have proven themselves at this level. And those are guys like Marquez, like Barrios, like Freeland, like Givens. And honestly, back to Sheldon's trade talk, I think that if you can get a Givens and Freeland for cheaper than you can get Barrios, I'm actually on board with that trade. That brings in two arms, one that will be a starter, that's a legit starter who has played in Colorado for most of his career, if not his whole career, and has put up some good numbers in a hitter's park, and then Givens out of the bullpen, who would definitely be one of our top three guys. Like that fills two holes instead of getting Barrios for more prospects and only getting a starter out of it.
I think that the short answer basically to your question, Jay, of why everyone's hell-bent on trading Groshans is simply because he's probably your most expendable asset. Because right now, as an infielder, your infield looks pretty set moving forward. Looks like Bo Bichette's going to be your second baseman or shortstop for the next 10 years. Vladdy's going to be at first for the next 10 years. They look primed to add another infielder, whether it's re-sign Semien or go out and get someone externally. So for the most part, your infield is pretty much locked up for the foreseeable future. And because you have that depth on the infield, guys who graduated to the big leagues and have proven to be staple parts of your lineup, why not trade that depth that you had? And Cole said that as a prospect, all you are is a prospect. I'm going to slightly disagree there. Not only are you just a prospect, but you're a trade asset. You're a valuable trade asset that you package in acquiring the next big star. They don't make the David Price trade if they don't have Daniel Norris, and Matt Boyd. They don't make the Tulowitzki trade. They don't have Jeff Hoffman. They don't make the Dickey trade. They don't have Noah Syndergaard. As bad as some of those trades look in hindsight, they pull off those trades because you have the assets to do it. And right now, as it looks like it, Jordan Groshans is probably not going to be part of your future moving forward based on the depth you've accumulated. So why not put him in a trade package for a Berrios or a Marquez, like you guys mentioned?
So why aren't people saying that about Austin Martin then?
That's exactly why, because Austin Martin has come onto the scene, and people think that he's going to be the one. He's one of your top prospects. He could be a second baseman. He could be a shortstop. He could be a third baseman. He could be an outfielder.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to say. He's also an outfielder, and that changes things. And Martin was a guy that was supposed to go top 3. He was supposed to be a Chris Bryant kind of pick, and it fell to 5 to the Jays. And I think that if you, in the Jays mindset, I think they're like, holy crap, we, first of all, stole him, and second of all, shouldn't just flip him the next year or the year after, especially with his versatility. And that's what I think Martin provides.
Yeah. Whereas
Groshans is a solidified infielder. And like Rob is saying, we have a solidified infield.
You take a look at their prospects, Olivas Martinez, Otto Lopez, Austin Martin. Then you throw in Bo and Cavan, who's at the major league level. Where does Jordan Groshans actually fit? So he becomes even more valuable. Minnesota. You keep on saying Minnesota. If Minnesota is that foolish enough to just take Rob's package, then they deserve to be in dead last place, man.
Whoa.
If they don't actually go, if they don't actually look and say, okay, well, this is what Toronto's offering. Maybe let me go to Atlanta, because we know Alex Anthopoulos will pull a trigger on a big deal if he has to. And go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
I'm thinking. Well, as Sheldon was giving his point about DJ LeMahieu, I can just picture the Yankees negotiation room, Brian Cashman and all those guys talking to DJ LeMahieu and about his contract, and you just see Sheldon in the corner. He's moving towards to check shortstop.
No, that was.
Then you'd be like, oh wait, well, what'd you say? And Sheldon, nothing.
When he was a free agent, I actually thought he would be a good fit for the Jays because he could play third, play second. He had a little bit more versatility than Marcus Semien. And then when the Yankees came in and they did what they did, and they gave him 6 years, I was like, oh, that's going to screw that organization up big time. And we can see it. I mean, he's a good hitter. He's a very good player. Don't get me wrong. He would have been amazing for the Jays. But, take a look at this season. If you just look at this season, Marcus fell into the Jays' lap. But let's be honest here. He was a free agent, and it was shocking that none of the West Coast teams actually tried to make a move for him. I thought Oakland would try and re-sign him, or I thought San Francisco would try and make a play for him, and neither one of those two teams wanted him.
Sheldon, quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
From what you've seen, 3 months of the season, who finishes higher, Yankees or the Jays?
Oh, the Jays, man. I'm the first to say it. I'm not off the Yankees bandwagon. I love the Yankees, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's one of the teams I grew up watching.
No, but the reason I asked is because obviously I know that you pay attention to them quite a lot. So you think that the Yankees are done already this year?
The Yankees probably finished third or fourth, which will probably cause so much heart attacks in New York, and the death rate will go up because they're not accustomed to finishing that low. But in Cashman's defense, if he realizes this team is not doing anything and he can make a trade like he did with Chapman to get a young player like a Gleyber Torres in that deal, if he can pull a trigger like that, 2022, I think the Yankees will kind of bounce back. But
do you reckon do you reckon they'll give us Chapman for Groshans?
I think if there's going to be
Chatwood.
Oh, definitely not Chatwood. But
Sweetener.
I think, it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Yankees would trade in within their division. It definitely won't be Boston. Let's be honest here. There's just not going to be a Boston trade. But it's. I mean, they traded with Tampa already. They traded. They kind of trade. I think Matt Ford they gave away for something. So, if they think that Jordan Groshans and Adam Kloffenstein is enough for Aroldis Chapman, if I were the Jays, I would look at it.
Yeah. So Myron, back to the Berrios point, and then keeping on the Chapman point, that I think you're slightly looking at it the wrong way, Sheldon, and it's the fact that
Never.
we don't see Groshans being in our infield, but Minnesota or New York could see Groshans as an infielder that will produce at a Bo Bichette level in 2 years' time. And if that's the case, then that's a pretty good trade. Like, Minnesota won't look back on a Barrios trade 2 years down the road if Groshans is a starting shortstop and is a major league, like above average major league shortstop. They won't look back saying we lost that trade. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Rob's package is going to get us someone of that caliber.
Cool.
No, you are both wrong. So I'm not poo-pooing the trade talk of what Rob for, but if I was the Twins, and the same thing, if I was the Yankees, if I can get more, I would explore it looking getting more. Now, if all you can get is Groshans, Kloffenstein, and another prospect, then you circle back and you make that deal. That's all you can get.
You've got Chatwood.
Nobody wants Chatwood, man. I mean, my softball team doesn't want Chatwood. So that's where he's at right now. And we need pitching. We do, but he ain't it. So who knows? Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all that the Minnesota Twins want. They just want three prospects. I'd be surprised if that's all they want. I'm pretty sure they would try and get a little bit more. But like I said,
what's your package, Sheldon?
For Barrios?
Yeah, what's the Jays package that they?
So if I was the Twins, I would keep it in the back of my head. I'm not saying it's a bad package. It's a good starting package, but if there's nobody else, if no one else is going to try and beat it, then yes, I would circle back to the Jays. But with that being said, I would go to Atlanta and say, okay, look, the Jays are offering me this for Barrios. Can you top it?
But don't think, like, you think that there is something that could top it. Like, you don't. It doesn't seem like you hold Groshans and Kloppenstein and whoever else in high regard.
I mean, obviously with the Jays, we hold Grosjean and Kloppenstein to a certain degree, right? But that's us because we're in Toronto. And there's publications that hold them to a degree, but what would stop Anthopoulos from saying, okay, you know what? I got a bevy of young starters in my minor leagues, and I got a couple of position players who could probably top what they're doing. And if I have to throw in a fourth prospect, would that be enough? Right? So there's going to be a bidding war for Barrios. No question about it. The Yankees will not be involved in it because they have nothing to give. Absolutely zero. Okay. They're not going to trade Andujar and Torres and whatever else they got in Florial and, the kid Dominguez.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to do. I mean, if they even think about doing that, the entire city is going to burn down. They're already calling Dominguez this, the next superstar for the Yankees. Yeah.
He looks like
that kid cannot be 17 or 18 years old. That kid's bigger. That kid's bigger than me, man. And I'm 5'10", 210, and that kid makes me look like a dwarf.
He's better than Torres right now. I'd put money on it.
Oh, hands down. I think the issue with Torres is that he's playing short, and it's just affecting his overall game. Then when we talked about Kevin Biggio playing third and how it affected his offensive game, I think it's the same with Torres. They need. Again, we're going back to the Yankee talk, which is good because Jay's sick, so he's fine.
I've fallen asleep. I'm done.
Listen, you're fine. They need a shortstop, and they need a shortstop badly to kind of solidify that infield. Now, this is where it's probably going to drive you guys insane, but I think what's good for baseball is the Yankees being very competitive. Not necessarily winning a World Series every year, but being very competitive because they're the evil empire, right?
It is.
So the Yankees not being competitive. I mean, are you going to hate Boston
as much as you hate? That's what I hate about baseball is the fact that these guys are always there, and when they're not, it definitely leaves some lasting impact on the sport. That's what I don't like.
It's good. It's good. I just point to the Yankees and laugh. Haha, you're an expensive fourth place team. That tax bill is
I mean, you take a look at the Dodgers. They're in second place behind San Diego. Now, San Diego went out and spent a lot of money over the last few years.
I thought LA. I'm gonna be honest. This looks like a bad thing. I thought LA was gonna threaten the 2001 Mariners this season. At least.
Me too. I thought that team was complete. I thought they were the ones who were gonna threaten the 2001 record, or even come close to the 98 record of the Yankees when they won 114. I thought they'd be compared. They were kind of. I don't know if it's a World Series hangover. I hope it's not. They got a lot of veterans on that team. I think it's just maybe they might be pacing themselves. They probably say, you know what, man, if we We get first, that's fine. We get the wild card, then we could turn it on. Which is a very dangerous proposition because you shouldn't really try and turn it on and turn it off when you can. Mookie has been hitting well up until recently. He started to hit like he's known. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but baseball does need the Yankees to roll and play well because there's no other team that you can love to hate and hate to love. Not the Cubs, not the Dodgers. I mean, the Astros everybody hates, so that's a different story. Everybody likes there's a love-hate relationship with the Cardinals, but I mean, not to that Yankee, idea. Nobody cares about the Orioles. Canada loves the Jays, and the US is kind of indifferent to the Jays.
And the UK loves the Jays as well.
Okay, there's like 5 fans in the UK, so we'll include the UK as well.
Yeah, but do they have a podcast like Jay? I don't think so.
Well, Jay might be the only person who stays up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching a baseball game.
That's what I'm saying. I said no one else has a podcast in the UK.
We would do it if it's something important. If it's an important game, we'd probably stay up and watch. And if we weren't working the next day, maybe. But, Jay, you really should put on that green screen a Yankee symbol and a J symbol.
What green screen?
He's got the green screen.
You can probably just cut out.
I don't know what green screen you're talking about. There's no green screen.
No green screen there, Sheldon.
You can probably cut out the Yankees talk.
You probably will.
Yeah.
I can. It's not a problem.
Then you're going to lose the Yankee viewers who actually like to listen to me talk. I have like 7.
And they're all relatives.
Nah, they don't know nothing about baseball.
Friends and family.
Okay, quickly. If you all have, I'm not included in this because I honestly don't know the answer. Need a bullpen arm. Who'd you go for?
Right now?
Yeah. To turn things around, because we obviously need something to turn around. You need one arm. Who'd you go for?
It's tough. I mean, the easy answer would be Richard Rodriguez, but all that spider tack stuff coming out, that's making me bite my lip just a little bit. Circle back to me, guys. Who do you got? Cole, who do you got?
I like, if the Yankees are open to dealing, I like Chapman, and he's a solidified closer. He's your 9-inning guy. He's your late inning reliever guy. He's got playoff experience. He has everything. And if you can get
Cole, just sorry to interrupt, but they traded Roberto sooner for a reason.
Oh, fair.
Yeah. So
fair.
I'm not sure how feasible that is.
Fair. Well then you go to the next best guy, which might be a Rodriguez, but like Rob was saying, it's actually been like publicized that since the ban, he's actually fallen off on spin rates and stuff like that. So it feels like he might have been one of those guys. So I think you need to go to a more veteran guy and a proven late inning guy, like maybe a Brad Hand.
How about Graveman? Yeah. That guy looked pretty good last night. I wouldn't mind having him here. And the Jays in Seattle they've had a history of making moves. Jerry Dipoto, their GM over there, they seem to have his number on speed dial, so that wouldn't surprise me. And Graveman was a former Blue Jay too, so
I think honestly, probably the most realistic answer to this question isn't necessarily picking guys off of our top of our head. It's the fact that the Jays just need solidified bullpen guys. Simber. Nobody was picking Simber, and he's a bullpen guy or a 6th-inning guy or a 7th-inning guy that in a normal pen with late inning guys, it'll be he is a guy that the Jays should go after, and it's like any of those guys. You know what I mean? Simber is I think the floor, and if you can get anybody above him, you're making upgrades in your pen, and that's at the end of the day what the Jays need.
So with Rob's take on Chapman, if the Jays are staying with that policy, if it's not going to be Chapman, I would kick the tires on Zach Britton.
That's a good shout.
I like that.
So Zach Britton would be 1. Number 2 probably would be Gibbons, because he's been in the AL East, so he knows how to pitch in the AL East.
Yeah.
And then probably number 3, it's probably going to be one of those under the radar arms that we didn't think Simber would be one.
How about Taylor Rogers?
Aaron Loop.
Oh God, no. O'Day,
We had that
O'Day,
experience.
Darren O'Day might be one. Just because he throws from a different angle as well. And we were talking about that earlier. He might be someone that you might try and get, and he may not cost them. So
the Jays fans aren't keen on him, though, are they?
Nobody cares about the Jays fans. You should listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. Look, Jose Batista's not here, so he'll be fine.
No, but you can meet him virtually along with Joe Carter if you've seen the advert. Like what?
Yeah,
what
I saw that.
What is that all about? It's like you can't come to the games at the moment, but what we're going to do is we're going to set up a Zoom call with one of your favorite baseball players, and they're just going to sit there going, "When is this over?"
I think the best part is that you have to pay money for it too.
Yeah. I think Joe Carter loves to talk, so I think Joe would probably be the guy who would talk your ear off. Jose might be the one looking at his watch and saying, "Okay, when's this over? When's this over? When's this over? When's?" So,
guys, go on, Rob, finish quick, get it in.
I'm all done, Jay.
Guys, massive pleasure for joining me today. I wasn't even sure if this was going to happen because I've been on my deathbed for the last couple of days with not COVID. I promise it's not COVID. I really hope it's not COVID. We'll find out tomorrow.
If you're not feeling well, can I trade Vladdy? Can I trade for Vladdy Guerrero?
Yeah, we've discussed this. So
we have.
He wants my Vladdy in the fantasy draft. So I'll see. I'll have a think about it. I'll look through the message.
Whoa, hold on. What does Sheldon have to offer you?
Time out here.
There's like 5 guys.
You should see Sheldon. You should see Sheldon market his players in the group chat. It's like, this guy's terrible. I don't want to take him. He's like, yeah, here, take this. He's terrible. Like, that makes you want to take him.
Like, unless Sheldon has like a perennial MVP guy, or he has 5 guys that are better than 5 guys in your roster, you can't do that trade.
Could you imagine Sheldon in the trade negotiation? Jordan Groshans, he'll never be an everyday shortstop. Why don't you give us your best pitcher for him?
Yeah.
Hey, I actually offered Bree a really good deal at Lindor, Grichuk, and I even said I'll take Grichuk out and give you Brian Reynolds, who's performing really well. Who? For DJ. I wanted DJ LeMahieu.
Oh, so no, that's a trade she should have taken.
Yeah, but she didn't. So then I went to James, who doesn't even look at his team, and I said, "Hey, can I trade you this guy and this guy?" He's like, "Let's do it." I'm like, "Well, that was easy."
And that's when I turned around and said, "I'm surprised no one's asked me for Vladdy."
And guess who jumped in on that here?
No, okay, Jay, I'm sending an offer your way if you're willing to give up Vladdy. Sending an offer your way.
We'll talk about this afterwards. Guys, I have to cut this because we're going to run out of time. Massive thank you to Sheldon, Rob, Cole. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. Don't forget to catch them on Blue Jay Center throughout the rest of the week when hopefully the Jays will keep winning on a winning streak. Make sure you head over to YouTube without the MLB commentators. Like, subscribe, Spotify, Apple Music, and we will catch you very soon for another edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. We're out of here.